Hey friends, I'm Joespresso and welcome to a build showcase of Herald of Thunder AutoBomber, but now on a Juggernaut. Walking simulator builds are some of my favorite in Path of Exile. The less micromanagement I have to do, the better. A few leagues ago I made my first Herald of Thunder AutoBomber and fell in love. The very next league, Annihilating Light was introduced to the game, which made Herald of Thunder builds that much more accessible for everyone. But I have one problem with Herald of Thunder builds in general. They're a little on the squishy side. Annihilating Light makes that problem a little worse because while it gives triple damage, it also makes resistances a little harder to cap. But when the Juggernaut changes for 3.19 were announced, I immediately thought of Herald of Thunder. So before we deep dive into how the build works, let's talk playstyle. The reason I love Herald of Thunder is because I enjoy a very relaxed playstyle. I turn on some music or a good book, and just run some maps, maybe throw in a boss or two to mix things up. I like a build where I can apply a relaxed playstyle and still be effective. The first Maven kill I ever got in Path of Exile was on a Herald of Thunder build, and I expect this one to perform just as well. Soon. Trademark. So if you're looking for a chill build to map or boss with, not sure about Ubers yet, then Herald of Thunder might be worth checking out. Now, let's get into the mechanics. In the background, I'm running something close to 1.7 million DPS, and the build has a ton of room to improve. I only have one awakened skill gem, it is still level 1, and I have another one that I need to buy, as well as a helmet that I need to upgrade a crazy amount. This build deals damage through storms created by Herald of Thunder. Usually, to make a storm, you need to kill something that is shocked. But with a storm secret ring, we can activate the storm when we shock something instead. So using any ability, in this case Stormbrand, we shock something, then Herald of Thunder does the rest. The trade-off here is that Storm Secret is going to deal 250 lightning damage to us when Herald of Thunder strikes anything, so we need to mitigate that somehow. And this is where the new Juggernaut changes come in. Unbreakable lets us apply 8% of our armor to elemental damage, giving us a way to deal with that lightning damage and making us tankier overall. Doriani's prototype, which is the armor we're going with, lets us double dip a little bit and fully apply our armor as well as that 8% to the lightning damage we are taking. This comes at the cost of our lightning resistance, but oh is it worth it when we get the damage boost from Doriani's prototype. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Since we stack armor, we really want to use a shield, which means no triple damage staff for us. Fortunately, we get a huge damage boost from stacking negative lightning resistance from Doriani's prototype. There's that damage boost I just mentioned, since it applies our lightning resistance to everything around us. Negative lightning resistance is actually pretty easy to get this league from amulets and rings that come from Lake of Kalandra. The last issue we need to handle in this build is clear. With a well-rolled Storm Secret, our Herald hits about 6 times per second, but it really doesn't have any AoE damage, so it only hits one thing at a time, so we need something to help that out. Normally, Herald of Thunder builds use impulses to answer this question, which makes shocked enemies that die explode and deal lightning damage to everything around it. But we can't use that because our body armor slot is already taken up by Doriani's. So instead, we're going to use Azanath's Gentle Touch to explode packs of minions. The one caveat we have to meet here is that Azanath is dealing physical damage with the explosions. Since we have Doriani's, we can only deal lightning damage, so we need to convert that physical damage to lightning damage, and we're doing that with a mastery node all the way at the top of the tree. Last up on our absolutely necessary items, we have Calamitous Visions, which is a small cluster jewel that gives us Lone Messenger, which is an enormous damage boost for any Herald build. The downside here is that we cannot use other auras, so there is no determination for us. Fortunately, we have a lot of armor from both our body and our shield to help keep us covered. These items alone are enough to get the build rolling and clearing in maps, but to push into red maps and start bossing, we need to focus on the next source of our damage, which is crit. All of our large cluster jewels will have medium cluster jewels that have both self-fulfilling prophecy and empowered envoy. Self-fulfilling prophecy increases the base crit chance of Herald of Thunder while Empowered Envoy is just a flat damage boost to Herald of Thunder itself. Grab as much critical strike multi anywhere you can get it, and be sure to cap your cold and fire res. Personally, for mobility, I'm going to be using Phase Run on my left click and Frost Blink as my blink ability, both because I like it and because it has Chilled Ground, which applies chill to enemies, and that's going to be important later on when we want to switch to Hypothermia as a support. There are other sources of chill we can use in this build, though Frost Blink is by no means a requirement. Last up, we have the totally optional items. The weapon and shield you use is totally up to you. If you want to go back to a staff, feel free. It's totally viable. I chose to use Dawnbreaker to convert some of the damage that I'm taking to fire so I can double dip with armor and resistance, as well as a dagger that has all three of the things that I need: global crit strike, global crit multi, and a lightning spell gem skill level. If you like what you see, or you want to try something different in Path, or you just want to play a chill build, Herald of Thunder is definitely worth checking out, no matter how you decide to do it. Whether you roll it on a Juggernaut or an Elementalist or an Inquisitor, it's a ton of fun and a really relaxed playstyle. If you want to see where this build goes, hit the subscribe button, because I plan on doing some update videos for this once I push this build to 6 or 7 million DPS. We're going to see how it performs against Uber bosses, if it can at all, and Maven. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the build, as well as how you think I can make it even better. Check out the current POB for this build down in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave the